June 12, 1943. A single navigation error changes everything. An American pilot flying a ferry mission from Gibraltar to Malta watches his compass spinning uselessly, 30 degrees off. The Lockheed P-38G Lightning beneath him, tail number 43-2278, carries him toward what he believes is friendly territory. The twin Allison V-1710 engines drone steadily. Fuel gauges drop toward empty. Below, through broken clouds, an airfield emerges. Relief floods through him as he lines up for landing. The moment his wheels touch Sardinian soil at Capiterra airfield, that relief turns to horror. Italian markings, enemy territory. Before he can spool up the engines, before he can attempt the desperate takeoff that might save him, a truck roars across the runway and blocks his path. Regia Aeronautica personnel swarm the aircraft. The pilot opens his canopy to a nightmare. He has just handed the enemy one of America's most advanced fighters, practically gift-wrapped and fully intact. For the stunned Italian ground crew at Capiterra, it feels like Christmas morning. The P-38 Lightning, the fork-tailed devil, sitting on their airstrip with only minor fuel system damage. No combat damage, no structural failure, just a faulty compass and one very unfortunate American pilot. Within hours, Rome receives the message. Within days, the Lightning is being transported to Guidonia, the Regia Aeronautica's premier experimental center just outside Rome. And within weeks, one man will have exactly 30 minutes of combat flight time to unlock the secrets that make this aircraft one of the deadliest in the world. That man is Tenente Colonnello Angelo Tondi, chief test pilot at Guidonia. July 1943. Guidonia Monticello, province of Rome. Angelo Tondi walks across the tarmac toward the hangar where the captured Lightning sits. At 38 years old, he's one of Italy's most experienced test pilots. He's evaluated dozens of aircraft types, Messerschmitts, captured Spitfires, every fighter in the Italian inventory. But this is different. The P-38's distinctive silhouette dominates the hangar. Twin booms extending back from the engine nacelles. Twin vertical stabilizers. The central nacelle, housing the cockpit and weapons bay, sits between them like a predator's head. The whole design looks alien, futuristic, wrong in a way that makes it somehow more threatening. Tondi circles the aircraft slowly. Italian mechanics have already applied fresh markings, white fuselage bands circling the twin booms, Savoy crosses on the tails, the American insignia covered with dark green paint, slightly darker than standard olive drab. The propeller spinners have been painted white. It looks wrong wearing Italian colors, like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Except in this case, the wolf is pretending to be a different wolf. The specifications run through his mind as he inspects the airframe. 2 Allison V-1710 engines, 1,200 horsepower each at takeoff, 2,400 total horsepower in a fighter that weighs just over 12,000 pounds empty. For comparison, the Machi C-202, Italy's frontline fighter, produces barely 1,000 horsepower and weighs about the same. The power-to-weight advantage is staggering. The armament makes it worse. Tondi peers into the nose cone where all the weapons are concentrated. 4 50-caliber machine guns, 1 20-millimeter cannon, all firing forward through the propeller arc. No, wait, there is no propeller arc. The guns fire between the booms, no synchronization gear needed, no timing interruption. Just pure, concentrated firepower pouring straight ahead wherever the nose points. A German Bf-109 or Italian Machi scatters its guns across the wings and fuselage. Wing-mounted guns converge at a specific range, usually 300 to 400 meters. Get closer or farther than that convergence zone, and your effective firepower drops dramatically. But the P-38's nose mounting eliminates that problem entirely. Whatever distance the pilot can see and aim at, the guns will hit. Tondi climbs into the cockpit. The American pilot's emergency destruction attempt left scorch marks on some instruments, but the essential systems remain intact. The seat position is high. Excellent visibility over that long nose. The control stick centers between his legs. The throttle quadrant on his left features two separate throttle levers for independent engine control. The instrument panel layout is logical, readable, well-organized. He's flown twin-engine aircraft before, but never a twin-engine fighter. The concept itself seems contradictory. Fighters are supposed to be nimble, quick, maneuverable. Twin engines mean weight, complexity, size. How can something this large compete with single-engine fighters in combat? The German Luftwaffe intelligence reports from the Pacific offer part of the answer. Japanese pilots call it the fork-tailed devil. They describe it as nearly impossible to engage successfully, fast enough to run from any opponent, powerful enough to climb out of any situation, armed heavily enough to destroy targets with single firing passes. But intelligence reports are one thing. Flying the machine is another entirely. Guidonia's mechanics spend 3 weeks rebuilding the fuel system with components scavenged and improvised. The American high-octane aviation fuel specifications don't match Italian fuel exactly. The chemistry is slightly different, slightly more corrosive to seals and gaskets designed for American fuel. They solve it by replacing affected components and hoping Italian fuel won't cause long-term engine damage. By early August, the Lightning is flight-ready. August 4th, 1943. 0530 hours. Tondi arrives at Guidonia before dawn. The Lightning sits on the flight line, engines already warmed by the ground crew. Pre-flight inspection complete. Fuel tanks full of precious Italian aviation fuel. All systems showing green. He climbs in, straps himself to the seat, runs through the startup checklist from memory. He spent days studying captured American manuals, memorizing procedures. The Allison engines cough, catch, roar to life. The entire airframe vibrates with raw power. Taxiing is awkward. The long nose completely blocks forward visibility. Tondi has to weave side to side, turning down the taxiway just to see where he's going. Captured American pilots described this technique during interrogation. It works, but it feels wrong, inefficient. At the runway threshold, he pushes both throttles forward. The acceleration hits him like a physical blow. 2,400 horsepower translates to brutal, violent forward thrust. The tail lifts almost immediately. At 80 knots indicated airspeed, Tondi pulls back gently on the stick. The P-38 leaps into the air like it's been waiting to escape the ground's grip. The climb rate? Good God, the climb rate. Tondi levels off at 3,000 meters to run basic handling tests. Banks left. Heavy ailerons, noticeable resistance. Banks right, same heavy feel. The Lightning responds smoothly but requires significant stick force, especially at lower speeds. This matches Japanese reports. The P-38 is not a dogfighter at slow speeds, but speed. That's where the devil shows his teeth. Tondi pushes the throttles forward and watches the airspeed indicator climb. 300 knots. 350. 400. 420 knots, nearly 485 miles per hour. And the Lightning shows no signs of strain. The Italian Machi C-202 tops out around 370 miles per hour. The German FW-190A8 reaches 408 miles per hour in optimal conditions. The P-38 is simply faster, 15% faster. And that's at sea level. At altitude, with those turbo-supercharged engines maintaining power where other fighters gasp for air, the advantage only grows. Tondi climbs to 6,000 meters and sets up for energy maneuvers. This is where the real nature of the Lightning will reveal itself. Full throttle, pull up sharply into a zoom climb. The Lightning surges upward like a rocket. Tondi watches the altimeter spin. 6,500 meters, 7,000 meters, 7,500 meters. The aircraft is still climbing when it finally stalls at 8,200 meters. 1,200 meters gained on pure momentum and power. He tries it again, this time from a dive. Rolls inverted, pulls through into a steep dive, accelerates to 450 knots, then hauls back on the stick into a vertical climb. G-forces crush him into the seat. His vision tunnels. But the Lightning claws for altitude. 8,000 meters, 8,500, 9,000, 9,500. The aircraft finally stalls at 10,400 meters. Over 34,000 feet. A 2,400-meter gain from a single energy maneuver. Tondi hangs there for a moment, suspended in the stall, and the truth crashes over him like cold water. This aircraft isn't designed for turning dogfights. It's designed for vertical combat. Boom and zoom, dive from above, use superior speed to attack, use superior power to climb back to altitude before the enemy can react. Repeat until the enemy is eliminated or forced to disengage. No Italian or German fighter can match this energy envelope, not even close. He tests the theory with a simulated attack profile. Dive from 7,000 meters to 4,000 meters at maximum speed, over 500 knots, more than 575 miles per hour. The airframe shudders but remains stable. At 4,000 meters, pull out hard, 6 Gs, maybe more. Vision graying at the edges, then immediately transition to maximum performance climb. Stopwatch running. At 5,000 meters, 1 minute, 15 seconds elapsed. At 6,000 meters, 2 minutes, 20 seconds. At 7,000 meters, back at starting altitude, 3 minutes, 35 seconds. Tondi knows from experience that a Machi C-202 would need nearly 6 minutes for the same climb profile. The German FW-190A8 takes about 5 minutes 50 seconds based on performance data. The Lightning climbs back to fighting altitude more than 2 minutes faster than either opponent. 2 minutes in air combat is an eternity. The tactical implications are devastating. If you chase a Lightning in a climb or dive, you burn energy trying to catch an aircraft that's faster than you. By the time you give up, you're low on altitude and energy. Vulnerable. If you don't chase, the Lightning simply climbs back up and sets up another attack. Either way, you lose. Tondi tests defensive scenarios. Hard brake turn to force an overshoot. The Lightning's heavy ailerons and mediocre turning performance at low speeds confirm its weakness in traditional dogfighting. A Machi or BF-109 could easily outturn it. But then Tondi does what an experienced Lightning pilot would do. Rolls wings level, throttles to maximum, accelerates away in a shallow dive. Within 15 seconds, he's opened the range to 400 knots and transitioning to a climbing turn. Any pursuing fighter would have perhaps 3 to 4 seconds of firing opportunity before the Lightning escapes out of range and climbs away. And if the pursuing pilot tries to follow into that climb, the Lightning will outclimb him and reverse the entire engagement. 45 minutes into the flight, Tondi has his assessment. The Lightning is superior to every Italian and German fighter in speed, climb rate, and energy retention. Its weaknesses, poor low-speed maneuverability, heavy controls, limited forward visibility on the ground, only matter if you can force it into a slow-speed turning fight. A disciplined pilot will never let that happen. Tondi brings the Lightning back to Guidonia and lands. The aircraft is as solid as it looks. No issues, no problems, just pure, brutal capability. He walks directly to the technical office and begins writing his evaluation report. 3 hours of detailed documentation, performance data, tactical analysis, strengths and weaknesses. The conclusions are clear and uncomfortable. The P-38 Lightning represents a fundamental shift in fighter philosophy. Against this aircraft, conventional Italian and German fighter tactics are inadequate. Engagement should be avoided if possible. If unavoidable, force the Lightning into slow-speed maneuvering combat where Italian and German fighters have an advantage. But Tondi knows the truth even as he writes the recommendations. Forcing a disciplined Lightning pilot into a slow-speed turning fight is nearly impossible. The speed and energy advantages allow the Lightning to dictate every engagement on its own terms. The report goes up the chain of command, it will be read, it will be studied, and ultimately it will be filed away because the truth it contains is too uncomfortable to fully confront. But Tondi's work isn't finished yet. Reading reports about an aircraft's capabilities is useful. Actually seeing those capabilities demonstrated in combat, that's different. That's proof. August 11th, 1943, 1100 hours. Tondi receives the mission briefing at Guidonia. American bombers, B-17 Flying Fortresses from the 15th Air Force, are inbound to strike targets at Terni in central Umbria. Approximately 50 heavy bombers in formation, returning north after their bomb run. Tondi's orders are simple and audacious. Take the captured Lightning, intercept the bomber formation, use the Lightning's familiar profile to get close. Attack. It's a combat test, the ultimate validation. Not simulation, not theory, not maneuver profiles on a quiet morning. Real bullets, real bombers, real American gunners who will absolutely shoot at anything that looks threatening, captured P-38 or not. The risk is enormous. The Italian markings might not be visible at combat distances. American gunners might identify the twin-boom silhouette as friendly and hesitate to fire, or they might recognize it as the captured Lightning that intelligence reports have warned about and open fire immediately. There's no way to predict which reaction will occur. Tondi accepts the mission. This is why he's chief test pilot. This is why they gave him the Lightning to evaluate. Not just to write reports about theoretical capabilities, but to prove what this aircraft can actually do under combat conditions. 11:15 hours. Tondi starts the Lightning's engines. By 11:20, he's climbing out of Guidonia, heading northeast toward Terni. The Allison engines purr smoothly. All systems nominal. Fuel sufficient for the intercept and return. At 6,000 meters, Tondi spots them. The American formation is exactly where intelligence predicted. 50-plus B-17 Flying Fortresses in combat box formation, having just completed their bombing run on Terni's steelworks. They're heading north, back toward their bases in southern Italy. From this distance, the formation looks like a swarm of metallic insects glinting in the midday sun. Each B-17 bristles with 50-caliber machine guns, 10 guns per bomber, 500 guns in that formation, 500 guns that will absolutely shred any fighter that gets too close or stays in the kill zone too long. Tondi checks his altitude, 6,500 meters. Perfect. He's above them, with the sun at his back. Classic bounce position. The captured Lightning's profile might buy him a few extra seconds of confusion. American gunners, seeing a P-38 approaching, might hesitate just long enough for Tondi to get into firing position, or the Italian markings might be visible and they'll open fire immediately. There's only one way to find out. Tondi rolls the Lightning inverted and pulls through into a steep dive. The airspeed builds rapidly. 400 knots. 450, 500. The airframe shudders but holds together. The formation grows larger in his windscreen, individual aircraft becoming distinct. He picks his target, a B-17 near the edge of the formation, slightly separated from the protective overlapping fire zones of its neighbors. At 1,500 meters range, Tondi rolls wings level and lines up the shot. The gun sight centers on the bomber's fuselage. His thumb moves to the firing button. No tracers yet from the bombers. Either they haven't seen him, or they're confused by the P-38's silhouette, or they're waiting to identify friend or foe. Whatever the reason, Tondi has his window. At 800 meters range, he squeezes the trigger. The Lightning's concentrated nose armament erupts. 450 caliber machine guns and 120mm cannon, all firing straight ahead, all converging on a single point. The recoil is surprisingly mild. The Lightning's heavy airframe absorbs it easily. The gun sight remains steady. Tondi keeps the trigger depressed, walking his fire along the bomber's fuselage. Now the B-17's defensive gunners react. Tracers reach out toward him. The sky around the Lightning fills with 50 caliber rounds. But Tondi is fast, over 450 miles per hour, and he's only in the kill zone for seconds. Impacts stitch across the bomber's wing and fuselage. Pieces of aluminum skin tear away. Smoke begins streaming from one engine. The B-17 drops out of formation, losing altitude. Tondi doesn't wait to watch the result. He's in the middle of 50 hostile bombers. Time to leave, now. Full throttle. Shallow dive to build speed, then transition to a climbing turn. The Lightning accelerates effortlessly. 400 knots, 450. He's opening the range, climbing away, and behind him the bomber formation is exploding with defensive fire that's already falling short. At 7,000 meters and 5 miles from the formation, Tondi looks back. The damaged B-17 is still losing altitude, trailing smoke. Parachutes blossom as the crew bails out. The bomber will not make it home. Tondi has his answer. The Lightning's concentrated firepower, speed, and energy advantages make it devastatingly effective against heavy bombers. The entire engagement, from initial dive to separation, took less than 30 seconds, maybe 25 seconds from first shot to complete disengagement, but there's no time to celebrate. Tondi checks his fuel. Sufficient. Checks his systems. All green. Starts the flight back to Guidonia. He lands at 1200 hours. Total combat flight time, approximately 30 minutes from takeoff to landing. In those 30 minutes, Tondi has validated everything his test flights suggested. The P-38 Lightning is lethal, not theoretically lethal, not potentially lethal. Actually, demonstrably, proven in combat lethal. His report to command is succinct. The Lightning successfully intercepted a formation of 50 American heavy bombers. One B-17 confirmed destroyed. The Lightning's speed and firepower allowed engagement and disengagement on favorable terms. No damage sustained. The aircraft's reputation is fully justified. August 12th through September 8th, 1943. Tondi's combat report circulates through Regia Aeronautica and German Luftwaffe intelligence channels. The photographic evidence is undeniable. American after-action reports confirm the loss of B-17 tail number 4, 2-3-0307, shot down by what witnesses described as an enemy aircraft resembling a P-38. The Germans are particularly interested. Luftwaffe intelligence has been tracking Lightning deployments in the Mediterranean theater with growing concern. Now they have confirmed combat data showing exactly how effective the aircraft is in the hands of a skilled pilot. But the captured Lightning's operational career is effectively over. Italian aviation fuel, slightly more corrosive than American high-octane fuel, has begun damaging seals and gaskets in the Allison engines. Spare parts don't exist. The mechanics at Guidonia can improvise some components, but critical engine parts require manufacturing capability Italy no longer possesses in mid-1943. By early September, the Lightning is grounded. Too valuable to risk in combat with degrading engines, too difficult to maintain without proper parts. It sits in a hangar at Guidonia, a trophy and a warning. Then, on September 8, 1943, Italy signs the armistice with the Allies. The Regia Aeronautica effectively ceases to exist as a unified force. Some units defect to the Allies. Others continue fighting alongside Germany. The country splits into chaos. German forces occupying central Italy seize Guidonia. They find the captured Lightning and transport it north to Germany. Eventually, it reaches the Luftwaffe's evaluation center at Rechlin, painted in German markings as T9 plus XB. But by then, it's too late. The engines are beyond repair. German fuel is even more corrosive than Italian fuel. The Lightning never flies again under German colors. Tondi survives the chaos of Italy's collapse. He continues flying for the Italian co-belligerent Air Force, the reformed Italian Air Arm fighting alongside the Allies. After the war, he remains in military aviation, eventually retiring with the rank of General. He rarely speaks about his 30 minutes in the captured Lightning. When asked, he describes it simply as the most impressive fighter I evaluated during the war. He does not elaborate. He does not need to. Those 30 minutes told him everything. The P-38 Lightning's combat record validates every conclusion Tondi reached in his evaluation flights and combat mission. In the Mediterranean theater, Lightnings achieve impressive kill ratios against both German and Italian fighters. In the Pacific, where its range and twin-engine reliability are especially valuable, it becomes legendary. American aces Richard Bong and Thomas Maguire, with 40 and 38 confirmed kills respectively. Both fly P-38s exclusively. The Lightning's unique design philosophy, using superior power, speed, and energy retention to dictate engagement terms, proves devastatingly effective. It forces opponents to fight on its terms, or not fight at all. Against disciplined pilots who understand the aircraft's strengths and avoid its weaknesses, the Lightning is nearly impossible to defeat. But the deeper lesson from Tondi's evaluation transcends specific aircraft performance. His report provided accurate, actionable intelligence about a critical Allied capability. The Regia Aeronautica and Luftwaffe commands acknowledged the report, filed it appropriately, and then continued operating under tactical doctrines designed for an earlier era of air combat. This pattern repeats throughout the war. Intelligence that contradicts comfortable assumptions gets noted but not acted upon. Officers who report uncomfortable truths about Allied technological advantages are thanked and ignored. Strategic planning continues based on wishful thinking rather than reality. Tondi's captured Lightning test was a microcosm of this institutional failure. One skilled pilot, 30 minutes of combat flight time, and a detailed report that told the truth about Allied fighter capabilities. The truth was accurate. The truth was documented. The truth was distributed to decision-makers. And the truth changed nothing, because the Axis war machine had already lost the ability to adapt faster than its opponents could innovate. The captured P-38G, tail number 43-2278, was eventually found by American forces at Schwangau airfield in southern Germany in May 1945. Too damaged for recovery, it was scrapped. No physical trace remains of the aircraft that briefly wore Italian colors and demonstrated conclusively the lethality that gave it the name Fork-Tailed Devil. but the lesson remains. In warfare, as in any competitive endeavor, the willingness to face uncomfortable truths determines survival. Tondi provided the truth. The Axis High Command, facing the truth, chose to look away. Angelo Tondi proved in 30 minutes what the rest of the war would confirm over 2 more years of combat. The P-38. Lightning was lethal not because of any single advantage, but because its design philosophy, speed, power, energy, concentrated firepower, represented the future of air combat. Traditional dogfighting doctrine designed for low speed, turning engagements was obsolete. The Lightning made that obsolescence undeniable. Tondi saw it. He documented it. He proved it in combat, and for 30 minutes over central Italy in August 1943, he flew the future. If you enjoyed this journey through one of World War II's most fascinating aircraft evaluations, hit that like button and subscribe to Echoes of War. We bring you the untold stories of courage, innovation, and the moments that changed history, one incredible tale at a time. See you in the next video.